Millions of people came to Chicago in the summer of 1893. They came for the World's Fair, for the lights, the wonder, the spectacle, and many of them needed somewhere to stay. There was a hotel on the corner of 63rd and Wallace Streets, a 3-story building, clean, modern, welcoming, run by a charming, handsome doctor named H. Holmes. He offered rooms to young women looking for work. He offered jobs to people who had traveled from across the country. He smiled at everyone who walked through his door. Some of those people were never seen again. The hotel had secret passages, soundproof rooms, trapdoors that dropped directly into the basement, gas pipes that fed directly into the bedrooms, vats of acid, surgical tools, kiln-sized furnaces. It was not a hotel, it was a killing machine. And the man who built it designed every single detail himself. This is the story of H. Holmes, America's first documented serial killer and the most diabolical mind in the history of American crime. Herman Webster Mudgett was born in Gilmanton, New Hampshire in 1861. From the very beginning, he was different. As a child, he was fascinated by surgery and dissection. Neighborhood children claimed he performed crude experiments on animals. He was obsessed with death in a way that disturbed even those closest to him. But he was also extraordinarily intelligent, charming, persuasive. He could make anyone believe anything. He enrolled at the University of Michigan Medical School. To pay his tuition, he began stealing corpses from the medical school laboratory. He used them to fake accidents. He collected insurance money on the bodies. It was his first taste of fraud, and he was very good at it. He graduated. He changed his name. Herman Webster Mudgett became Henry Howard Holmes, H. Holmes. He moved from city to city, leaving behind a trail of scams, unpaid debts, and disappearances. He married multiple women simultaneously, in different states. He forged checks. He stole property. He borrowed money he never repaid. In 1886, he arrived in Chicago. He found a job at a pharmacy. He charmed the elderly owner. When the owner mysteriously disappeared, Holmes took over the business, and then he began to build. Holmes purchased a large plot of land directly across from his pharmacy. He designed a massive 3-story building himself. He hired multiple construction crews, firing each one before they could finish, switching contractors constantly so that no single worker could understand the full design. No one saw the complete blueprint except Holmes. The ground floor contained shops and offices that he rented out for income. The 3rd floor contained apartments, but the 2nd floor was something else entirely. More than 100 rooms, most with no windows, some with no doors, accessible only through secret passages in the walls, rooms lined with iron plates, rooms with gas jets controlled from a panel in Holmes's own bedroom. He could pipe gas into any room in the building, from his desk. Trapdoors in the floors dropped directly into chutes, leading to the basement. And the basement was where the real horror waited. A surgical table, precision tools, vats of acid large enough to dissolve an entire human body, a kiln, a furnace large enough to cremate a full-sized adult, rows of carefully labeled chemicals. Holmes called his building the World's Fair Hotel. He marketed it as the perfect place to stay during the 1893 Columbian Exposition, one of the most attended events in American history, drawing over 27 million visitors to Chicago. Young women arrived from across the country, looking for work, looking for opportunity. Holmes offered them jobs as secretaries, as pharmacists, as hotel staff. He charmed them. He befriended them. He made them feel completely safe. And then, one by one, they disappeared. Holmes had a specific type of victim: young women, often from out of town. Women who had come to Chicago alone, with no one in the city who knew them well. Women who would not be immediately missed. He offered them jobs. He offered them housing. He befriended them. Sometimes he romanced them. He convinced them to take out life insurance policies, with him as the beneficiary. And then he killed them. Some were gassed in their sleep. Some were locked in airtight vault rooms and suffocated. Some were dropped through trap doors into the basement below, where Holmes waited. He disposed of the bodies methodically. Some were dissolved in the acid vats. Some were cremated in the furnace. Some were stripped of flesh and sold as anatomical skeletons to medical schools, a skill he had learned as a young medical student, stealing corpses. Beyond his hotel guests, Holmes also targeted business partners. He recruited people into elaborate fraud schemes, insurance scams, property fraud, identity theft. Once they had served their purpose, he killed them too. Among his most chilling victims were the 3 children of his associate, Benjamin Pitezel. He killed them one by one in separate cities, while simultaneously writing letters to their mother, pretending the children were still alive and well. He kept the grief of a mother alive, while holding the cause of it secret. For years, nobody connected the disappearances. Chicago was a city of millions. People came and went constantly. Holmes was a respected doctor and businessman. Nobody suspected a thing. Holmes was not caught because of the murders. He was caught because of the insurance fraud. In 1894, he attempted one scheme too many. He faked the death of his associate Benjamin Pitezel to collect on a life insurance policy. But then, he actually killed Pitezel instead, to ensure his silence. An insurance investigator named Frank Geyer grew suspicious. He began tracing Holmes's movements across multiple states. The trail led to Boston, where Holmes was arrested on an outstanding warrant for horse theft. While in custody, a prison informant came forward. He told police about an insurance scheme Holmes had described in detail while they were cellmates. The investigation exploded. Police traveled to Chicago. They entered the hotel, and what they found inside stunned even the most experienced detectives. The secret rooms, the gas pipes, the trap doors, the acid vats, the surgical equipment, the furnace, still containing bone fragments. The building was so elaborate, so deliberately designed for death, that investigators coined a new term for it on the spot. They called it the Murder Castle. The story ran on the front page of every newspaper in America. The public was horrified and transfixed. Holmes confessed to 27 murders, but investigators believed the true number was far higher. Some estimates, based on the number of people who disappeared during the World's Fair, suggested the real figure could be in the hundreds. He was calm, articulate, persuasive. He denied everything, then admitted some things, then denied again. He changed his story constantly, keeping investigators confused. He was ultimately convicted of only one murder, that of Benjamin Pitezel. The evidence for the other victims was largely circumstantial, destroyed in the acid vats and furnace. He was sentenced to death. On May 7, 1896, H. Holmes was hanged at Moyamensing Prison in Philadelphia. His neck did not snap cleanly. He died slowly, his body twitching for over 15 minutes before he was finally pronounced dead. Before his execution, he gave one final statement. He said he had been born with the devil inside him, that he could not help what he was. He requested to be buried in concrete, so that no one could exhume and study his body. The request was granted. His body lies there still. The murder castle burned to the ground under mysterious circumstances, just days before Holmes's trial began. The fire was never explained. The lot where it stood remained empty for decades. Today, a post office stands on the site. Most people who walk past it every day have no idea what happened there. H. Holmes inspired one of the most famous true crime books ever written, The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson, published in 2003. A television series adaptation was announced, but has faced years of delays. His case raised questions that are still debated by criminologists today. How many people actually died in the murder castle? How did one man operate such an elaborate killing machine in the middle of a major city for years without being caught? And perhaps most chillingly, how many of the 27 million people who visited Chicago for the World's Fair walked past that building on the corner of 63rd and Wallace Streets and had no idea what was happening inside? As Holmes himself said in his confession, "I was born with the very devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than the poet can help the inspiration to song." He was hanged at 34 years old, and 130 years later, the world still cannot fully explain him. How many people do you think H. Holmes really killed? Drop your answer in the comments. New true crime case every week. Subscribe so you never miss one. Next case is one of the darkest stories America has ever produced.